Hey guys, welcome back to Ashar Books. Today I'm going to be doing my June Part 1 wrap-up. So sorry about the mostly empty shelves behind me. Like I mentioned before, I am moving, so mostly everything's packed, but I did put a couple things just to make it not look completely empty. But yeah, so just kind of bear with me. There's also a few books in here I don't have to kind of show you, but I can still talk about them nonetheless. So the first book I read in June was When He Was Wicked by Julia Quinn. This is book, it was 5 in the Bridgertons, and I really enjoyed this one. I didn't know if I would like this one because it's about Francesca and, is it Michael? Yeah, Michael. But Francesca is one of the Bridgertons that you didn't hear much about because she was married and she was living in Scotland. So I just didn't know much about her. I wasn't really sure if I'd like it, and I knew it was a bit of a second chance romance, which sometimes I like and sometimes I don't. I ended up really loving this. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I think it's honestly one of my favorite Bridgerton books I've read. So like I said, this follows Francesca, and she was married fairly young, but her husband passes away after only I think 2 years of marriage, so she's still very young when she gets widowed. And basically Michael is her husband's cousin, and they grew up together, and so him and Francesca and Michael were all really good friends. A couple of years pass, things kind of go by, and they find themselves back together again, and kind of they just have this instant spark and this chemistry that's always kind of been there, but like obviously no one would act on it because Francesca really did love her husband, and Michael loved his cousin. So it kind of went from there. It was definitely like a second chance romance. It was very emotional. I don't know, I really loved it. I loved Michael. He was very kind of witty and charming, and so he was kind of that player personality, but in a way that you still found charming, so I really liked this one. The second book I read this month was Sleepless in Manhattan, and I've mentioned this one a little bit already on this channel. This is the first book in the, I don't know why I still can't figure out what the series is called, but I think it's called like Manhattan with Love. And I read this one with Bree from Bree Hill, and we both loved this. It's just great. It's such a good kind of I'd say it's a romantic comedy slash drama. I mean, it's a little bit of everything. It's about a girl named Paige Walker, and her friends live in New York City. They moved there from a small town, and basically they want to just be successful, and she is a like event planner. She's at an event planner company. Well, at the very beginning of the book, so this doesn't really spoil anything, she loses her job, and it's very out of nowhere. She's been working very hard, and she's kind of devastated. Well, then kind of comes in Jake Romano, and Jake Romano is her brother's best friend, and she's known him for years, but he's a few years older, and he's always been completely off limits. When she was younger though, she basically kind of had a bit of an embarrassing moment where she kind of told him how she felt, and he said like, no, I don't feel that way, like kind of shot her down. So Jake is the one that kind of encourages Paige and the other two friends, Frankie and Eva, to create their own business as an event planner, and it's called Urban Genie, and I just love this. I love how it focused on the girls' friendship. I listened on audiobook and I loved it. Like, I cannot wait to read Frankie and Eva's story. Paige and Jake were just that kind of like couple that you knew were going to be together. They had the best chemistry, but at the same time you could kind of see those obstacles, and Jake had a really tough childhood, and he'd been through a lot, and he really didn't think he was good for Paige. He thought that she should find someone better for her, and I loved it. I loved the New York setting. Her brother was amazing. Paige's brother was amazing. The setting was perfect. I love how they didn't just throw away their careers, you know, not talking about them in the book. They really still focused on that and the struggles, but the love story was so sweet. I can't say enough good things about this book, and I can't wait to continue. So the next book I read was The Cost of Hope by G.S. Carr, and I was actually sent this book by the author, who asked if I would be willing to kind of give a bit of a review for the book, and I said of course, because it sounded amazing. I might end up doing a separate review on this book and one other that I read recently, so let me know if you'd be interested in hearing like a little bit more about this one. But basically this follows, well, first of all, it's set in the kind of aftermath of the Civil War, and I thought that was really interesting. because a lot of books are set during the Civil War, but not kind of, they don't focus on that aftermath part, the kind of after effects of it, and I thought that was just really fascinating. So this book basically follows two characters. It follows Salil, I hope I'm saying that right, who is a black woman, and she basically, it's kind of there's a lot that I kind of can't say because there's some really big twists in this book, which I enjoyed. So I want to let you guys figure out the twist. Even though the Civil War is over and slavery is illegal, there's still a lot of people who are kind of forced by circumstances to stay working for the people they were working for before. So Salil kind of is in that position. The person she was actually working for has passed away, and now her evil son has kind of taken ownership of what he thinks is his property, basically, which he is just a terrible, terrible human being. But basically something really bad happens towards the beginning between the two of them, and Salil kind of has to like run for her life with her daughter Hope. So when she runs away, she runs into Alex Cummings, and he kind of helps to save her from this evil man, and he is a plantation owner. This takes place in Alabama, and I have to admit, when I first read that, while intrigued, I wasn't sure how it was going to work, because I wasn't sure how the dynamics were going to work with the plantation owner and someone who had previously been a slave in the South. I just thought that's a lot going against them, but I thought the author did a great job. It was believable. The way that they worked out Salil's background is a big twist, and it turns out that they might have a bit of a history with each other, Alex and Salil, and basically he takes them in and takes them to his house and takes care of them and kind of lets them heal because she was very hurt. So that's kind of all I'm going to say about this. I loved it. The love story was beautiful. I thought Salil was such a strong character. She's been through so much in her lifetime, and she's not that old, that I thought it was so brave of her to kind of try and still have a happy outlook and have a positive outlook. Alex was a wonderful human being. I thought he was just, the way that they built his character up, I thought was really smart the way she did it, because like I said, there's a bit of a twist to their backgrounds, but he through and through is a good person. He takes care of the people who work with him or for him, and at the end of the day, he really was willing to sacrifice a lot for his love. I highly recommend this book. I thought it was fantastic. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. The only thing I would have wished would be different is I wish it was longer, because it's not that long, but I just like selfishly really wish it was longer. I will say there was a little bit towards the end that seemed a little bit rushed, and I kind of do wish it was spread out a little bit more with a little more detail towards the end of the book, but at the same time I liked it enough that I didn't want to take off a star for that. So definitely check out G.S. Carr, and I believe she's writing more in this series, so definitely check that out. So the next book I read was It's in His Kiss by Julia Quinn. This is book 6 in the Bridgertons. As you can see, I am trying to finish the series because I want to feel that accomplishment, but I was really disappointed in this book. So you guys know I love Julia Quinn. I like almost everything she writes, and I love the Bridgertons. This one was the first one I gave it like 3 stars. It's probably like a 3.5, but when the rest of the series had been a 4 or a 5-star read for me, it just was kind of lacking, and I don't exactly know why. So this follows Hyacinth, who's the youngest girl in the Bridgertons, and basically it follows her and Gareth, and basically it's kind of a little bit of a typical story. You know, Gareth had kind of a terrible childhood. His father's just a terrible person. He meets Hyacinth, and basically a large part of this book revolves around this mystery. Gareth has this diary that he's found from one of his grandparents, his grandmother. This diary is written in a language that he doesn't understand. So basically it turns out that Hyacinth can help him, and it's a bit of a mystery trying to locate these jewels that are hidden somewhere in his family's house. And so a large part of the story is kind of revolving around that, while also having Hyacinth and Gareth kind of fall in love. And I liked Hyacinth. I liked her character, but honestly, in some ways I kind of liked her character better in the previous books when she was a side character, and that made me really sad because I had been looking forward to her book and I was just hoping it was going to be fantastic, and I was just kind of let down. I don't know, it was kind of the same old, and I felt like Gareth and Hyacinth, while I liked them as a couple, I wasn't as emotionally invested in them as a lot of the other couples, so it's just been a letdown. I'm really hoping that the last book I think it's called On the Way to the Wedding. I'm really hoping that won't kind of make up for this one. The next book I read was The Raging Ones by Krista and Becca Ritchie, and I don't have it because I read it on my Kindle, but I was having trouble getting it to pull up. But I received this book as an art copy digitally from NetGalley for a review, and I was so excited because if you might know, Krista and Becca Ritchie wrote the Addicted series and like the Calloway Sisters spin-off kind of intertwined series, and I absolutely love that series. One of my favorite series ever, and this is their first novel, The Raging Ones, that is a YA sci-fi novel. So I figured I'd take a chance on it. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I did really enjoy parts of it. So basically the story takes place in the pretty far future. It was like quite a bit in the future. It's a bit futuristic, and basically everyone knows their death day. They know the day they're going to die, and that kind of divides the kind of world up into different sets, because there's the people who are going to die very young, there's the people who are going to die kind of like between like, you know, 18 and like 25, and then there's the people who are going to live to like 80 or 90 or 100. So basically that kind of takes on how the world is set. So basically this story follows 3 different characters, and basically all of them come together, and there's this really interesting kind of dynamic where these 3 characters can basically kind of feel what the other characters are feeling, and they're all connected for a very specific reason, which I will let you guys read about because it's a bit of a twist. But I will say the sci-fi world, kind of the aspects of like the death day and the connection between them was really interesting. The first part of this book really sets up the character development, and I know it's going to be a series, so I think a lot of this book was set up. So the first parts of it, I will say, were a little slow for me because you're meeting the 3 characters and you're getting to know each of them, and it really does delve into kind of their background, and they're pretty fleshed out pretty well, which I enjoyed, but it was just a little bit tedious and slow to get through. Because I didn't say, the 3 characters are Franny, Michael, and Court, and I thought that the dynamic between the 3 of them was really interesting. They did not go for any kind of like love triangle situation, which when they can all kind of read each other's minds, could have gone down that road. And basically though, the 2 guys, Court and Michael, are forming a relationship, and I thought they were the sweetest, cutest, most like swoon-worthy little couple, and I just love them so much. But basically, as I was saying before I got sidetracked, they are trying to get into this program called Stardust, which basically is a program to go into like space, basically, and they kind of have to go through all these trials to try and see if they can get through and if they're like the best to get in. And that's basically follows the story. I will say I enjoyed a lot of the aspects of the sci-fi, I enjoyed the characters, and the twist at the end was amazing, and I cannot wait until the second book. So the next book I read was called Must Love Babies by Lynette Austin. This was just a very sweet kind of like small town romance. Guy and a girl, basically they meet at this wedding, and he throughout the book has to kind of take care of his sister's son because of circumstances she's not able to at the moment. The female character is running a wedding boutique. I think it's going to be a start to a really fun series. It's small town. Basically it's the 2 of them kind of getting together, and you know, of course there's a baby, so it's adorable. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was set up really well. Basically this was just a really sweet small town romance with an adorable baby in it, and I really enjoyed it. And if you're looking for like a small town romance, look this one up. Okay guys, so those are all the books I read for the first half of June. Let me know, as usual, what you've read. I'd love to know. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you liked the video, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!